Welcome back to Hammer Time. We're joined by one of the good guys, one of the legends in the Super Samoan, Mark Hunt. Let's go back to the year 2000. It's 13 years ago. Can you believe that? You turned a dream into reality. K1 Oceania champion. What a night.
Yeah. It was the beginning of fighting career for me with Alex Tui there, so it's good to see that. Oh, Clay Amatagi.
Big Clay Amatagi.
That coconut crack.
This is going back to the days with Harpy Negranoa and the crew out of Liverpool.
Actually,
let me ask you this. Going back to this era, did you ever think you'd end up where you are today?
Well,
did you ever dream?
No,
what a Cinderella story.
Well, honestly, I didn't know, where I was going with it, but I was still working full time. Yeah. But no.
Going back, I suppose, from being seen in Auckland, you got into a bit of a stoush there. I think the history recants itself in that you got into a bit of a stoush. Someone's seen you take care of business, said, mate, you want to have a crack at this kickboxing game, and you took him up on the offer, and it was a really quick progression from having that introduction to winning the K1. Not only the Oceania K1, we see you here battling with Big Clay, and he always is an entertainment package, but it was a really quick transition. How did you take that sort of quick escalation?
Well, it was I was watching Ray Chef, Andy Hug, all those Peter, Sam Greco, all those guys in K1, and always wondered how to get there. This K1 that Tarek Saleh provided us the opportunity, the doorway to get there. So that's great. Like I said, I was watching this way back in the day, and then we have a chance to compete in it because the Tarek Saleh was really good for me. So.
Winner via points over Mr. Sefu. Oh,
look at who's that? Yeah. Who's that good-looking fella? What happened, Andy? What happened?
I had hair there. That was before I ate the state of Tasmania.
He's still looking fine. But talking about being in peak physical condition, Phil Fagan. I mean, he was really one of the favourites in this one, and coming from England and battling with you in the final here. Took care of business, and that was really when you unleashed the sleeping pill, as they said in that right hand. Took care of business.
Yeah, he was a specimen, right? Phil Fagan. Man, I was lucky to get that one, so it was good.
So good footage, good memories?
It is, actually. At the beginning of my career here in Melbourne, actually. It was, like I said, it's been nearly 2 decades now, so I'm actually over 2 decades, but good memory to see the start of it, where I started. So
you look back at some of them, and gee, you Polynesian boys are tough, aren't you? And so many good rivalries, but so many good friendships.
Yeah, that's what I built over the years of fighting, is a lot of respect for other fighters. And gee, man, when you say that, geez, I am looking old. I feel old. Long time now. But the funny is, I still feel better now about fighting. I got more fire now than I did. Yeah. In the middle of my career, though. It's kind of funny that...
Being on the big events, I suppose, it really brings you and makes you accept that challenge and excel in it.
Yeah.
And talking about excelling at challenges, you stepped up against a friend and a foe in Ray Sefo. Yeah. And that was a fight that, looking back, it was really a career-defining moment for you in front of that huge Japanese crowd. You guys just went toe-to-toe, and this fight will go down in history as one of the greats for sure.
Well, yeah, man, to get an opportunity to fight against Ray, someone I looked up to as pioneering for the sport of kickbox, to actually be in there with him, it was like an honour, So like I said before, it was 3 weeks before that, I think I was... my career was... the year was over for me until I got asked to come and to fill in, so it was great. I've always gone up for the challenge to take the opportunity. And,
look at that, just sticking the chin out there. And
that's just called stupidity. That's called tiredness and stupidity, But Ray's a good man, so always respect for the guys that pioneered for the sport.
It's a fight they still talk about today, Hammer.
I remember this. I remember this so well because, social media wasn't what it is today. And even without social media, everyone was talking about it. They're like, dude, you should have seen this fight. It was crazy. They put their hands down and they were just punching each other flat out.
You're not supposed to do that. That's the idea. That's not the idea of fighting. Fighting is to hit people and not get hit. So
your punching coaches were both wrapped with this, but your defensive coaches thought you were crazy.
There was no defence, though.
No,
there's no defence. It's just full-on attack.
And did you just have the mindset that it was the occasion, it was the crowd, it was the moment that nothing was going to hurt you and you were just there to put on the show for that huge crowd?
No, I was just tired, man. So.
Mark, a huge difference when you look back at some of this old vision, the crowds in Japan compared to the crowds in Australia or the United States. Here and in the US, we get up on our seats and we yell and scream. In Japan, they almost sit on their hands politely and respectfully.
Well, yeah, until they see someone getting their ass beat up. So, like, I think Sam Greco said before in the show was like the crowds. I went from fighting here to a 40,000 seat arena to to the dome, which was 80. So it was big time, So Sam hit it on the head by you can pretty much do a lot of things you didn't really realise. So, and even back then, you come back here, it's sort of like no one even knew who you were. So, but
I remember being at the Tokyo Dome with Sam Greco for one of his fights, and to give the viewers a bit of an idea of how big these events are, when you walk out of your change room to take you to the fighters' entrance area, you have to get in a car. They drive you literally around the arena. You can't walk there. They drive you from one side to the other to do the fighter entrances. So Mark fighting Jerome Labana, who was really one of the hot favourites of the K1 stable, to fight him in front of such a huge audience would have been a buzz.
It was actually, like I said, to fighting one of the guys that pioneered K1, it was an honour. And for me, like I said, it was a great opportunity. And
Jerome, who was the bad boy of K1, and you guys had a bit of a healthy rivalry there too.
It was good, yeah.
You were the one that actually got to punch him, but so many other people wanted to.
He's a good guy, man.
Jerome Labana asleep there, one of the great rivalries. And again, we've gone through Mark's career, so far, and the term that keeps coming back to me is career defining, and that was another one of those moments.
Let's put it all on the table. K1, Pride, UFC. What's your favourite fight been? What's your most memorable fight where you look back at that fight and you go, loved it?
Well, honestly, the fighting, it's actually the fight with myself that's been the most defining for me. It's always the hardest. There's not any opponent. And it's always been a battle with myself to try and, to stop the demons from keep talking to you about bad stuff. You're not going to do it.
What do you mean by that, just to give us a bit of an
Well,
insight?
Training all the time. You always, doing training, different stuff, getting up and breaking the wall every day. It's hard to be, to do it all the time. And that's like I said, every fight, I think it's not the actual opponent, it's themselves that they got to beat. So
it's a discipline,
that's for me.
Just to keep coming back and.
It's a mental. I've always felt fighting is a mind sport.
Yeah.
I've got most of my career under with a strong mind, not a lot of training though. But that's not the way to do it though.
Now we looked earlier at winning K1 Oceania, but winning the K1 back in 2001. Your wildest dream come true, is that probably the best way to put it?
Well, my dream did come true, and it just, fighting took a back seat for me after that. I wasn't even...
As we said before, though, you're talking in terms of time. From the first day of training, 3 years till this momentous occasion here. That's a really express route.
Yeah.
As a kick fighter,
to being the, most highly paid kickboxer in the world. At the time, there was no mixed martial arts of any note. There was no big payday. So this was the big payday. This was the UFC heavyweight title to be likened to today's terms,
absolutely.
I suppose.
Tournament fighting, it was back in the day, so...
Did you, at this point in your career, late K1 and early days of Pride, did you look at UFC and think they're competitors, or it's a different sport, or I don't like it, or I do like it? What was your...
Well, look, I didn't know what mixed martial arts and UFC was.
Yeah.
All I knew was kickboxing, K1. Yep. I didn't know about MMA, and I didn't know there was a company called Pride. I was asked to fight a guy named Vegeta way back in the day, and I thought he was talking about Dragon Ball Z. I was like, Vegeta? No, not.
Would you ever have another kickboxing fight if the check was big enough? Bigger than that giant check? I'm talking bigger check than that.
Well, it's not about money for me anymore anyway, but, I've said no to kickboxing matches and offer because, I've done that. I've been there. I've been the best kick fighter on the planet, and, I didn't see the point of just going backwards all the time and doing it. It's a hard thing to ask, especially when you're fighting tournament fighting.
Yeah.
3 fights in one night, big goons beating the crap out of you. So, maybe, I don't know, One-offs maybe. There's some rematches I like to get. I've talked to Ray about a rematch, or this and that. There's a few other people, but other than that, I haven't been the best fighter at a mixed martial artist, and I still feel like I am, and that's another dream I'm chasing now. So I've got 5 more fights to try and do it. I'm still employed with the UFC, so...
He's a hard act to follow, the big guy, but next week's show, it is also full of goodness.